So the first speaker for today is a TED Talk, and she's Sharon Spratt, who's a director at Fast Track. And Sharon, a bit about Sharon, so she loves her bikes, and she's got a Suzuki Hayabusa. I think that's how you pronounce it. And while she's not negotiating corners around the Eastern Creek track, she's actually writing books. And there's this one, Lead IT, moving from technical leader to people leader. So that was written by her, and the title for today is What Do You Mean It's Not Done Yet? So please welcome Sharon.
So, getting people to do what you want, when you want it, is a bit of a proverbial pain, is it not? It can be really frustrating for a lot of managers that we work with anyway, and so much so that we often have conversations with some who say, look, I really don't know if I should even be doing managing. I just feel like I'm banging my head up against a brick wall trying to get people to be accountable for what I ask them to do. This is the case with a chap that we worked with earlier in the year. His name's Ian. I'll call him Ian. He's not in the room, so it's okay. And he is an SDM. And he was saying to me, Sharon, I'm finding it really frustrating. I'm working with a woman at the moment, and it's just not working out. And in fact, the title for us today, the next question he actually asked us was, how do I get people to be accountable without resorting to violence? So I knew he was really frustrated. Tracy is the name that we're going to call her, is the one that he was working with at the time. And he said, look, I've just had another meeting with Tracy. She's come up with a really creative reason this time for why she hasn't completed the monthly report I need from her. And it's now 4 months in a row that she's been late. What on earth do I do? Hence, he said this. So I thought, well, I'll do this topic today because I don't know about you, but it can be extremely frustrating. It got to the point, in fact, where he found himself shouting at her, what do you mean it's not done yet? And the poor woman burst into tears. So he thought, oh, I've got to get on the phone, talk to Sharon, this isn't right. So now this may not be the case for you, but I'm wondering if perhaps you might find yourself feeling a little bit resentful sometimes if you're being asked to do work that has been end up on your plate because somebody else has let you down, they haven't done what they said they would. Or perhaps you're gritting your teeth as a colleague says, oh, well, yes, I would have liked to have done that for you, but it's not done yet. And so now you're thinking, how am I going to explain this to my boss? So today's topic is going to be around how do you get that kind of level of accountability. But it's going to be very short. When we think about motorcycling, which is the background that I have and what I'm bringing into the way that we work, it actually can be quite dangerous if people are not willing to be accountable. Now, there's lots of rubbish riders out there because I've been riding for over 30 years. I've seen quite a few of them. And when people are not accountable and not willing to face the fact that they aren't doing what they need to do, it can be quite dangerous. In fact, we had a situation with a friend of ours who had quite a bad accident because he wasn't willing to admit that he wasn't Casey Stoner. And he was trying to chase people around corners, and it was just beyond his skill. Now, while people are working hard to maintain that, that image of them being good at what they do when they're not, all the rest of us can see through that, can't we? Yeah, it doesn't fool anybody. It may only fool them. But while they're doing that and working so hard to do that, in fact, it means that they're stuck and they're not able to learn and to move on. And so that's one of the reasons why accountability is such a critical aspect of working with people. And so today, what I'd like to do is share with you some tools, 3 tools in fact, that are going to help build accountability so that people can learn and develop and grow. Now, the consequences of not being accountable are far-reaching. They may not be life-threatening in this case here, but they can still affect us. So if we look at the people that we're managing, if they're not willing to be accountable, what sort of consequences are there for them? They don't have the opportunities to learn and grow. They're not coachable. Our trust in them can often be less. Yep. We might find ourselves performance managing them at some point, and certainly the opportunities for them to be promoted are much more limited. In terms of our own situation as a manager, I don't know about you, but I found myself doing what I call special delegating. So I delegate to the people I knew would do stuff. And it was uneven. I wasn't actually spreading things around the team if I had somebody who I didn't think would actually be able to deliver when I wanted to. So uneven delegating is not good. Nor is setting deadlines that aren't quite real, but you're putting in an extra buffer because you think they're going to be late anyway. So that can cause problems too. The other thing is that you end up very often stressed out and overworked yourself because you're taking on things that they're unable to do. Yep. And it doesn't help either when we're faced with the embarrassing situation of saying something, explaining to our boss why something didn't get done. And then, of course, for the organisation as well, there are problems here because they're not tapping into the full productivity that's there available to them or the engagement level. And unfortunately, just telling people what we want them to do with lots of instruction and direction doesn't work all that well, particularly with these guys. Yeah. They much prefer to figure it out for themselves, thank you very much, because they're going to be CEO in 2 years' time and they don't want to be slowed down. So, welcome. Come on in, grab a seat. We've still got a few. How would it be if you could ask people to do a task and they would not only do it, but they'd do it to the standard that you wanted when you wanted it done? And in fact, not only that, but they came and asked for more. And they thanked you for the opportunity to do that. And they volunteered when you asked for volunteers. Would that be cool? Yeah? Okay. So these 3 tools I'm going to share with you now will help with that, I promise. They work particularly well in the IT environment. Now, but what it might mean, though, is that you have to do something a little different from what you have been doing in the past. Are you up for that? Can we see a few nods? Yeah, you don't even know what you're saying yes to yet, do you? Very brave of you. Alrighty. So, the first thing that we need to do is a pre-ride check before we ask somebody to do something for us. And that involves asking a question. Why should they do it for me? Because what we've discovered, and you probably have too, is that people don't do stuff for our reasons, they do it for theirs. And our job when we're managing others is to find out what those reasons are so that we can tailor it to them. Has anyone here heard of Daniel Pink? Great, okay. I'm going to refer to Daniel Pink now because he has done a lot of research around this, and let me introduce you to him. He's written a book called Drive. He's actually written several New York Times best-selling books. The surprising truth about what motivates us. And one of the first things he tells us is, guess what it's not? Any guesses? It's not money. Thank you. Yes, it's not money. And in fact, with knowledge workers, offering more money actually gets you worse results. And there's been loads of studies on this. If you're interested in following that further, obviously have a look at his book, or else Google his RSA animated version of his TED talk on this. It's fascinating. Loads of research there. So if money's not one of the reasons, what is? He tells us there are 3 key reasons, the 3 that will give you the most influence with others. And I'm going to focus on 2 of the 3 today, but let me tell you what they are first. The first one is autonomy. From a motorcycling point of view, it's people getting on their own bike, riding their own ride, getting to the destination their own road. It's not being a passenger on a bus, as Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great, would have us believe. So I take issue with Jim over that one. I don't think people need to be passive passengers on a bus. I think they much prefer to be autonomous. The second one is mastery. We all like to feel pride in doing something well and that satisfaction of doing a good job. Can I ask, when you think about driving your car, or for those of you who ride a bike, How many of you in the room would say that you are above average as a driver or a rider? Let's just see. Come on now, hands up. Okay. Oh, we're all being very modest today. Okay, well, we still had about 3/4 of the room putting up their hands. So where does that leave all the rubbish drivers and all the ones that are just average? Well, they're not in this room, clearly, yeah? No, so clearly not. And so, and this is an interesting concept because we all want that satisfaction of thinking, I'm a good driver, I can drive better than the average person. Now, the third area is purpose. So this is around doing something that will make a difference, not just for us, but for other people as well. And so although we call that an altruistic, in fact, it's actually a key motivator for us. Let's take a quick look now then at autonomy and how do we use that to build accountability. Well, the easiest way we can do this is we can just give people the big picture. When we're asking them to do something, and I'd like you to write this down, please, give people more responsibility, not less, more. Tell them what the big picture is, why what they're doing is important, how that fits into the bigger picture. And then give them the outcome or destination and when we need them to be there, and leave the rest blank. This is where autonomy comes in. They will then step up and own that for themselves because they have more skin in the game, yes? They've got to make it work, and they will work harder to make it work, even if what they're doing from our point of view isn't as efficient or as effective as we would do it. The fact is that they will have more skin in the game. Now, some of you might think, oh gosh, that's an awful lot of work, going through the big picture and the importance of what they're doing and all of this kind of palaver. So what I want to do is run a very quick exercise with you, and this is a Mike Dunlop racing around the Isle of Man on a TT race, so some of you will know that. And what I'd like you to do is I'm going to run a part of the video, and I want you to see and look at as much as possible of what's going on as you can possibly take account of. So are you ready? What most people find when they do this exercise is that everything just rushes at them so fast and they feel incredibly pressured. Now, in the business world, how we tend to react to this is that we want to slow down. And we see this in our staff. They are constantly checking back with us for more information, asking questions, often challenging questions, needing help, even things like moaning about management decisions and the customer. They get disengaged, there's lower trust, because they don't know what's important and what isn't. Now, this is what Ian noticed Tracy was doing a lot of as well. So now as I play the second part, I just want you to focus on one thing, the road horizon. Let everything else fade into your peripheral vision. See how that feels. Now, you've probably noticed that that took a lot of the pressure off. In fact, what people say to us is that they can actually keep up a faster pace because they're able to concentrate their attention on what's most important, ignore the distractions or keep them in their peripheral vision. And when people know what is most important, they're willing to step up and take more responsibility. Now, let's look at the second component of Dan Pink's work, mastery. I was reminded of this a few years ago when my daughter turned 3 and she was all excited about going off to preschool. And as a good parent, I thought, right, she needs to learn how to tie her shoelaces, so I will teach her. So I sat down with Rhea and I said, okay, this is how you do it, and I started showing how to do it. And she was getting frustrated, and I was getting a bit frustrated because she was all thumbs and it just wasn't working. She was batting my hand away going, no, I'll do it. Anyway, I kept persevering, as one is supposed to as a parent, until she just got obviously so frustrated. She took my face in both of her hands, turned and looked in my eyes and said, Mummy, let me do it. And so I thought, okay. So I sat back and I thought, all right. And she did. She struggled through and she kept going. She figured out a way to tie her shoelaces that I would never have even been able to figure out for myself, but she did it and she felt masterful. And she went off to preschool, and that was all I heard about for the whole day, was that she could tie her shoelaces. And that's hardwired into our brain. We are learning creatures. Every time we learn something and we master it, we get a huge shot of adrenaline and dopamine and all those wonderful serotonin and other hormones that reinforce what it's like, and that's why we get that sense of satisfaction when we actually do achieve something. So if you can get that happening with your people, you're onto a winner. And one of the ways that we encourage people to do that is through coaching and giving feedback. Now, I'm not talking here about giving feedback in your annual reviews or even in your monthly one-on-ones, which I'm assuming that you do run. What I'm talking about here is the kind of feedback that we can give on a daily basis. Because when should you be adjusting your course when you're on the road? When you've gone off the road and you're in the ditch, or when you're just starting to go off course? Yeah, we know that naturally. We just adjust as we're going along. And so the kind of feedback that I would encourage people to give is on the run feedback, day to day. Catch your people doing something right, reinforce it like crazy, and then maintain and meet your obligation to let them know when they need to change course or do something differently, and help them to do that. Now, how do we do that quickly in a TED talk? I'm going to share with you a 3-step process, and you've got room in your notes there for it. The first thing is to ask permission. Can I give you some feedback? The second is to describe what you have observed, because it's from your own observations, and the impact that you think that that's had. And then the third thing is to ask, can you change that, please? Can you make a change? You don't tell them what change you want necessarily, you ask them to change. So let me give you a quick example. Can I give you some feedback, Aidan, about the customers meeting that we had this morning?
Yes, okay.
Now, if he says no, by the way, that's okay, that's fine. I'll do it some other time, or I won't bother. It's only a little thing anyway. So please don't go ahead if they say no, even though you might be tempted to. When you said to the customer that that idea that they had wouldn't work, they shut down. I noticed they didn't contribute any more to the meeting, and I think we've lost some valuable opportunity to build relationship and some valuable information there. Could you do something about that for next time, please? It's only a little thing, remember, it's just very matter of fact, it's low key, and it's a minor course adjustment. And people are far more open to hearing about that than if we make a big deal of it in their one-on-ones. Yep. We can all do minor course adjustments. Now, you can also use this, and please do, for positive feedback as well. It's the same principle. Can I give you some feedback about that meeting we had this morning, Aidan, with the customer? Yep, okay. When you encourage them to come up with other ideas, apart from that first solution they suggested, I could see they were really getting into it. They came up with some really valuable information. Thank you for that. Keep it up. Yep, very simple, very simple. Now, you may discount that and think, well, that's no big deal, it's not going to make much difference. You would be surprised at how often people go away going, oh, she noticed. Yeah? How many of you in the room here would love some feedback like that from your boss occasionally? Wouldn't that be nice? Ian tried using this stuff. He tried the autonomy and the mastery, and I was thinking, yes, this will be good, this will be good. I catch up with him for another coaching session. He goes, Sharon, it doesn't work. I've been doing exactly what you said and what we worked out. I've been trying to give her feedback, and all I hear are excuses. And I end up embroiled in these long conversations about why something hasn't happened. She's still pushing back and she's still coming up with excuses. And in fact, it's almost as if she's operating on this principle here. If I have a good enough reason, haha, I can't be held accountable. And he said, what do I do? And we both had a bit of an aha moment here. So I said, all right, let's apply principle number 3, the accountability accelerator. Obviously, we need to do some of this first before she's going to be open to you coaching and giving her more responsibility. So what is that? Well, again, it's a very simple process and short. So let's have a look at the components. There's 3. The first thing is he needed to say to Tracy, you promised that you would have that report to me on my desk by 3 o'clock yesterday. It's not there by midday today. Okay. What he shouldn't be doing after that, and what a lot of us do, is we say this, don't we? Yep. No, that's a trap for the unwary. Because what are you asking for now? Her reasons, her excuses. And then that's when we get caught up. So all we're after here is for Tracy to come back to us and say, yes, I did make that promise. Yes, I did make that commitment. That's all. Because that's her being accountable then. Yep. The next thing then is to ask the question, when did you realise that you were not going to meet that deadline? So we're helping her to be aware of what's going on and the choices that she's making as she's going through her day. And when she notices, then what did she choose to do? Because even if it's a P1, even if it's a customer phoning up with an issue, even if it's someone else coming and dumping something on her desk, she always has a choice about what she does with that. Yeah? And so when you encourage people to see that it's not out of their control, it's not all going on out there and it's nothing to do with me, but it's actually something that they can do something about, then you'll get them taking more accountability because they will see you as a resource to help them do that. So what Tracy realised she needed to do, as soon as she got to that second stage and thought, oh, I'm not going to get that report done for Ian, she needed to go to Ian, choose her action, go to Ian and say, it's not looking good for that report by the end of today, Ian. What can we do about it? And what Ian would have done then is to problem solve with her. Now, it might mean negotiating the deadline or it might mean doing something else, but at all times, the monkey stays on Tracy's back. So if you're familiar with Ken Blanchard, he doesn't take over her monkey, he keeps it with her. He helps her sort the problem out for herself so she maintains accountability. I had a call from Ian not so long ago, and he was very excited. He just had his best one-on-one with Tracy. And he said, this is what she said. And I said, hold on, let me write it down. So I wrote it down. He said, she said, thank you so much, Ian. I had no idea how much I was sabotaging my own opportunity for promotion. I'd always blamed my managers in the past, and now I see I had some responsibility too. He was thrilled. And in fact, Tracy has been promoted to team leader now, and Ian is saying she's going to be one of his stars. He can see that. And that was what the problem was. That was all the problem was. So again, people don't do stuff for our reasons, they do stuff for their reasons. And 2 of those reasons are autonomy and mastery. And if we have the courage to keep them stepping up to that and to hold them accountable for that, we can go a long way with our people. And once they experience our commitment to their reasons, then they have us at their backs. And there's no reason why any manager should be banging their head up against a brick wall or thinking maybe I shouldn't be doing this and questioning what they should be doing, because they have now the tools to build accountability. Thank you.